The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Alrighty, let's do it. Hello, everyone. This is Susan Rich Talks Live with Anne-Marie Schutz, and I am your host, Susan Rich. I'm an expert writer and business strategist, and if you need help turning your words into revenue, if you're curious about how to write to sell, then we need to connect. Visit my website, SusanRichTalks.com. And before we introduce today's guest, which is Kadena Tate, and she's going to give us some advice on business modeling, let us say hello to our birthday girl, Anne-Marie. Hello, Anne-Marie.
You forgot to mention what an awesome introducer of the show you are.
Oh, no, this is about you. You are the birthday girl. I already know I'm an awesome introducer for the show, whether the music cues in or not, or I flumbled my lines or whatever. This is all about having fun. It's all about you. Right, Jess? Is it all about her today or what?
What? Totally what?
Totally what? Totally what? Yeah, here, Kadena. See, Kadena, this is it. It's Anne-Marie's birthday. Last week was my birthday, and Anne-Marie and I have been best friends since high school. So, yeah, I'm the old lady of the group.
You are, but that's okay. We all are. That's okay.
Uh-oh.
Why do we have music in the background?
For you. Maybe.
Everybody.
Jess, did we get it? Henry's birthday song?
Guys, what are you doing?
We're trying.
Wait a minute.
Add your voice to personalize this clip at the new interactive video site, merge.com.
Guys?
Hit it.
Yo, check this out. Live at Club Sandwich. We got my main man, MC Twizzler, on the box. And we got my boy, DJ Drumstick, smashing it out on decks. Yo, every chicken in the club, put your wings up, put your wings up, put your wings up. Every chicken in the club, put your wings up, put your wings up. Yo, cock-a-doodle-doo. This is Mr.
God, it's
wrapping up for
dance.
you. If you're low on pecking order and battered and fried, don't get your turkey in a twizzle. I was called by to send the word to you. That's just what the chicken rapper will do. Yo, let's put the word out to hey, happy birthday. You're the nugget, wanna hug it, and that's all I gotta say. We got wings up for. Hate my partner in crime. You're my mean motherfucker.
Now it's party
time. Put your drumsticks down, lay an egg on the stage.
All right, Jess. I think we got it. I'm sitting in my desk doing the groove here, doing the chicken groove, and yeah. So, folks, you know that Anne-Marie has German ancestry, and one of the very strange things that marked her for life was watching adults do the chicken dance at weddings.
Yeah, and not just adults, but, older middle-aged men that are normally insurance salesmen and other dignified occupations. They get in the German-American club and they lose it, I swear to God. It was awful. It was awful.
I love it. So, my dear, that's it. That is your very strange happy birthday song. I figured you would prefer that over having me sing to you.
Oh, well, you're actually a very good singer, Susan, but thank you. The rap chicken dance was awesome.
Okay. So one more little thing, of course, before we get started. We have to do today's hat attack.
Yeah.
That's right, the hat attack. Today's Hat Attack. Okay, so folks, you know our show is partially sponsored by Alexander's Vintage Emporium and her Etsy store. And so you have to head over to my YouTube channel, Rich Writing, after the show to see me wearing this hat and to understand that the proper way to wear it is actually the way it is right now, which is this amazing oversized brim navy blue hat with wonderful butterflies all over it. And it dates from the 40s, and it's called a navy horsehair pancake big brim hat. So I don't know if when you're done with your chickens, everybody knows you need eggs and pancakes. So maybe we just put all of that together. But really, what this is it is a beautiful navy blue hat with white butterflies on it. It's made of horsehair, and it is a tilter. So actually, what I've got is I've pulled it all the way forward, and you can actually see through the brim. So for those of you who are getting ready to go to the Kentucky Derby or have your own Derby party of your own, this is the perfect hat to wear. It also offers tremendous sun protection, which is something that's very important to me. Anyways, but it's an amazing topper, and it's from World War II, so it's also in terrific condition. And so if you're interested in learning about this hat and other hats from our show sponsor, Alexander's Vintage Emporium, again, head over to her Etsy store or visit my YouTube channel after the show, Rich Writing, and take a look at the hat. And that concludes today's Hat Attack. And I think, unless you have something to add.
No, except that hat does require a hat pin. And if you have never used a hat pin before, you might want to get a little help. Because when my friend and neighbor Ramona showed me how to use a hat pin, she explained that the whole point of it is you jam the pin into your skull. And I later found out that not only does that hurt, but that's not precisely accurate. So I think that was just Ramona's sense of humor. At least I hope so. But oh my God, that hurt.
See, there is a hat pin. I'm holding it up right now. There is a hat pin, but I'm just not altogether. Ow! Okay. Oh, that's it. The hat pin does. It does jam into your skull, my dear. All right. That's how that works. Okay. I think it's time to introduce today's guest. We are so excited to welcome Kadena Tate to the show. She's a contributing author of the New York Times bestseller, Business Model You, and she believes that authenticity has no competition. For the last decade, Kadena has taught service-based entrepreneurs how to take who they are and what they know and package that into multiple offerings. As a business acceleration alchemist, Kadena's work is designed to help you leapfrog the market and make the idea of competition irrelevant. I love that idea. Kadena will help you gain the confidence and clarity necessary to attract clients and cash and clout. And you can visit her online after the show at kadenatate.com. And just a quick reminder, Kadena is Kadena, Tate, Tate.com. And Kadena, welcome so much for joining us today. I'm just delighted to have you on the show.
Oh, I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. It's so good to reconnect with you again, and it's nice to meet you other ladies. Thank you for having me.
Oh.
Thrilled. I've heard so many good things about you.
Ooh, this is good news. I love it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So Kadena, if you would, tell us a little bit about your business, how you got started, and your background.
Well, I got started, let's back up a second. I worked in customer relations, inside sales, outside sales, and training for an international aviation company for 20 years. And in my part-time, I sold art. And then, I had a relocation up to I was living in Houston for 13 years, and I had a relocation up to Fairfax, Virginia. And so I didn't have my art parties anymore because I didn't know anyone. So then I had to do a new thing on the side. So what I started doing was selling real estate. And then people would ask me, how are you selling so many houses? And I didn't know. I had no idea. I said, I don't know. I like people. They like me. And that's how I do it. And what ended up happening was a guy said, well, let me accompany you let me come to your house and basically be with you from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, so that this way we can teach the other agents in the office what you're doing. And what I was doing was simply customer service. And so it was the same thing that I was doing on my regular job, only it was face-to-face on one-on-one. And then I started training realtors on how to have a business model that was sustainable, because, sometimes you'd have closings and other months you wouldn't. So I started doing that. And then from there, what I found was that I preferred training rather than actually working with buyers or sellers. So I became a trainer, and then I started picking up corporate clients from the people that I sold houses to. So that's how I got my start with, speaking at corporations and things of this nature. The way that I became very specific as it related to business models was because what I noticed was that there were 4 primary reasons that people's businesses fail. The SBA says that, 1 in so many businesses fail every year. Mm-hmm. And what I noticed was that it was because they had a flawed business model. And there were 3 things specifically that were wrong with it. Pardon me, not 4, 3. Number 1, they paid no attention whatsoever to systems. And so there was poor execution. They didn't have systems. Number 2, they paid no attention whatsoever to the customer as it related to what did the customer want specifically. So they were solving irrelevant jobs that they thought were important and wanting to be paid big money. And then the third thing, it was too much what I call comparison. And I believe that authenticity has no competition. I personally don't believe there's any such thing as an external threat. You know how when you go to college, they tell you you have to do a SWOT analysis. You look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I don't believe in the threat piece, because I believe that when you stand in a space of being unapologetically you and you do the thing that you're gifted to do, there's no such thing as a threat. And I think that we have to get out of this whole comparison energy, because the minute that you compare yourself to someone else, I believe that your power then leaks. You can't stand fully in the place that you've been called to work with the people that you're supposed to be working with. So I really wanted to help people get clear about how do they create, capture, and deliver value. Because I find a lot of people, and this is not meant to be disrespectful, but they're very lazy. It's I want to make $100,000 or $1 million a year, but they don't actually want to do anything. It's this entitlement energy. And so that's how I started talking about this particular subject. And as I started helping people to find the holes in their thinking as it related to their business model, that's actually what gives me the passion to keep going.
Wow. Love that. That is so powerful. So Kadena, this is what's so interesting is I think, in my experience, a lot of business owners, they start their business. The concept of a model is like the last thing on the table. Would you say that's true?
I agree. So
what is a model? Let's just kind of go academic for a second. What is a business model then? And how do you pick one?
I like to use things with simplicity, because I think sometimes we overcomplicate. We overcomplicate things, and that's why we don't actually succeed. And so for me, it's what are the components put together that make your business run in a functional manner so that you can be of the highest service. And those things are, for example, I think that every female entrepreneur, specifically as women, one of the things that we have to know is there are things that are built into how we're created as women that can actually push your business model forward. So, for example, we have and we also have the natural gift of connectivity. What we lack as it relates to a business model are how do you fit those two together in a way where you can actually earn money. So, for example, I think you have to look at what is a network, right? So who are the customers that you serve, and where do you serve those people? What are the customer relationships that you need to produce? I think we have to begin to think about things from a perspective of what's the value that we provide to people, how much money do we want to earn, how do you grow that particular network, right, through your marketing resources or what I call your key activities. No successful business is a Jill of all trades situation. So you need key partners. There are resources that you need, whether they be emotional, financial, spiritual, physical, mechanical, technological. And then finally, we have to look at cost. So it's really basically what you would say 9 things: your customers, the value that you provide to them, the channels in which you're going to reach them, the relationships that you need to make your business successful, how much revenue do you need to generate, and the revenue needs to be higher than the cost. Who are your key partners, your key resources, and the key activities that you need to do every day to create a sustainable business. So that's it in a nutshell. It's really as simple as that. It's what, and in an even more simpler way, let me say this, for some people, just so that they can walk away with 3 things. You have to know what a network is, how to create that network, and how to grow that network.
Okay.
That's the very that's the simplest way that I can put it, so that a person can begin to look at how they see their business. So let me use an example of something that happens to a lot of women. If you have a great personality, someone is going to ask you to be a part of their network marketing company. That's just what it is. So whether they're going to ask you to sell Mary Kay or Avon, they're going to ask you, at some point you're going to be asked. The minute that question is asked of you, where a lot of women step into the wrong space is they say yes without thinking about who's going to buy this product from me. Do I have a database? Do I have the money to market? And when I say money to market, I mean, it might be something as simple as having an email opt-in of $19 a month. Some women don't have that. And so it's really clear, how am I going to reach the people beyond my family and friends? What am I going to have to do to gain visibility and credibility as a person who sells this particular product? So that's what I mean. People don't think about what do they need. And also, do I need some of the product at my house so that if someone comes over, do I have sales, marketing, and branding skills? And also, am I a Jill of all trades? Am I selling, for example, Mary Kay, Avon, and some other thing? And so now when people think of me, they think of a whole bunch of different stuff. They don't know what I do. So I say to people, we have to fill in the blank in the following sentence. When people think of blank, they think of me. That's the simplest way to gain clarity about what's the value that you bring to the table. And when they think of you, they can't be thinking of 50 million things. They need to really think top of mind awareness for one thing. Does that help?
That is so powerful. And I know Anne-Marie lives in rural Pennsylvania, and she's on an advisory committee for like a health food store. And they're actually struggling with some of these questions right now. And I think what you just said, Kadena, when I think of blank, they think of me. I think it's just the simplest branding exercise I've ever heard of, because I would, I don't know what people think it, because right now, I'm on the radio and people are like, well, what does being a radio show host have to do with you being a writer? It's a good question. Well, don't ask me to answer it, Kadena. Let's just move right along.
You know it was coming.
Yes, but it's Anne-Marie's birthday.
But I'm teasing you.
Yeah, I know you are. I know you are. But so we've got, those are some really basic, fundamental questions. The next, though, is its scalability, because once we get the customers in the door and we answer those questions, we need to grow. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is you're pushing that ball up the hill for so long, and then all of a sudden you start to get traction, but you're not ready for the growth. You don't have those other pieces in place. So what is some of your advice there?
For me, let me tell you, I'm a huge, huge proponent of systems. One of the things that I see a lot of women do, which, I'm not even going to lie to you, it blows my mind. I sit back and I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, stop it. And what they do is, say they have something that they do that works really smoothly. They don't write down what's the step-by-step process. And so what ends up happening is, I read a quote somewhere, and please forgive me, I don't know where, but something that said that 3/4 of a woman's life is spent taking care of either her husband, her children, her siblings, or her parents.
I believe it.
And if she's 3/4 of your life. So if you think about that, 3/4 of your life, if you don't take the time to write out the step-by-step processes for every area of your business, such as What are your customer service protocols? What are your marketing protocols? What are your sales, product creation, product development, invoicing, billing? How do you produce newsletters? Who are your outsourcing partners? If you don't have those things written down, if you had to go and care for someone, your whole business would come crashing to the ground.
Yep.
And how do I know this? Because it happened to me.
Oh.
Because my father, became very, very ill. And basically, I moved from Virginia to Texas to help my mother care for him. And that was a 4-year experience. And during that 4 years, 13 months of the experience, he was in ICU for 13 months in a row.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
I don't know how to tell somebody what it's like to have to go to an ICU room every day, because you don't know, is this the day? And it's very touch and go, and it's very, very stressful. And so in trying to run a business, when people said to me, well, why didn't your business fall all the way down? I said, because I had some systems, thank God. And I had things written down so that when I could ask a high school student, a college student, an intern to help me with my business, there's no delay because I had processes that I went through on a daily basis. So the first thing is you have to simply write down what are the steps that you use to accomplish a task. A lot of people think, well, everybody does the same thing that I do. That's not true. You might be a woman who writes handwritten notes. You might be a person who uses another type of templated system for your newsletter. You may not be creating it from scratch, but if you fine tune your processes, then what you can do is you can evaluate whether or not it's clear, is there clarity there? And then you can also, it helps you to see the loopholes or the steps that you've missed. The other thing that it helps you to do is to see, for example, say you're at $100,000 a year, and maybe for the last 4 years in a row, you've earned $100,000 every single year, and you're trying to figure out, how do I get to $300,000? Well, if you wrote things down, you would be able to see very clearly. You would know maybe where your customers are coming from. I remember a woman years ago, I asked her, where do your customers come from? And she said, I have no idea. And I said, I used to be like that because I had no idea how I was selling all those houses. But this is what I noticed when the gentleman took that tour with me that day. This was the first thing that he brought to my attention, which blew my mind because it's something that I was doing unconsciously. Every time I go to a restaurant, I look the waiter or waitress in the eye and I say, my name's Kadena, what's your name? And then they introduce themselves. And then my very next question would be, are you a renter or a homeowner? And then they tell me, their whole life story, right? That would be my very next question. And I didn't even know that I was doing that. And then the person would say, if they said they were a renter, then I would say, what are you doing renting? What's going on with you? And then they would tell me their credit situation, whatever it was. And then I would say, well, I have some friends at Consumer Credit Counseling. I can get you into a program. And when you're ready, I'll be happy to help you buy a house. There was no high pressure sales. Same way with business. I think that we have to learn how to, number one, you have to write everything down. Okay. That's the first thing you have to do. The second thing you have to do is you have to put it into a system that's duplicatable. Okay. That's very, very key, because sometimes we have convoluted processes and we don't even know it. So writing it down helps. And the third thing is understanding how much revenue do you need to earn, and then what are the costs? Because one of the things that I can tell you that hurts a lot of people is they don't count the cost. For example, if you notice, I'll use an author, for example. An author may have counted the cost of what it's going to take to publish their book, but they may not have considered the cost of what it's going to take to market that book. Right. And because they haven't taken the time to figure that out, they can't move their book into multiple business models.
Okay.
If you wrote a book, in order to be scalable, in order to, if you will, make a positive impact in the world, you could take that book and turn it into an audio or video product, a YouTube show, a podcast series, a newsletter, a magazine, a coaching, consulting program, right? A live event. There are so many things that you can do with that one book. But if you haven't written anything down and you're not clear about what you're doing, how can you scale upwards?
Right. So basically it's multiple streams of income.
Absolutely, from doing one thing. And that's in your expertise, let me add. That's your expertise.
Huh. I'm taking notes for my friend. This is amazing. Wow.
So let's talk about, and this is something that I'm sure is also very near and dear to Anne Marie's heart. It's not so much, let's talk a little bit about competition. I know, Anne Marie, your situation is slightly different because it's not as much competition as it is tight dollars. But what you said earlier, Kadena, about if you're being your authentic self, there is no such thing. You're unapologetically you. There is no such thing as competition. What? God, that is so cool. What does that mean, though?
For me, I think it's about 5 things. Well, let me say them, and then I'm going to count them out. Because there may be more. Okay, so the first thing I think that we have to remember is that people will spend their last nickel on something that they want. I believe, this is my personal opinion, that our needs, we make those decisions with logic, but our wants, those decisions are made with emotion. Because it makes no sense, for example, for somebody to buy a $100,000 car. That's not a logical decision. That is an emotionally based decision. So we have to kind of take that and then move it over into our business. So in our business, what does that look like if you're an author, coach, consultant, speaker, or trainer? The first thing that you have to do is ask the question, answer the question, how are you personally going to make your client's life better or easier? And when you get really clear about who you are, what you know, what you don't know, what you're willing to learn, how you're willing to serve, then you can answer that question in a way that nobody else can. Number 2, you have to ask and answer the question, how am I going to add to this prospective client's bottom line, to their quality of life? And the way that you can do that in an easy way is I tell people, pull out a yellow pad and write down what you believe are your gifts, talents, strengths, abilities, and the lessons that you've learned from your most challenging life experiences. And right in front of you, you have the framework for how you can be of the highest service. That's what makes the whole thing of authenticity has no competition. Because when people say to me, for example, oh, we do the same thing, I'm like, oh, no, honey, we don't do the same thing. Number 1, I'm the eldest child of 4. I come from a military background. I was in the Air Force for 4 years. I worked for British Airways for 20 years. I sold real estate. I've sold art. And I also teach business model strategy. So we absolutely don't do the same thing. Do you do that? And they say, oh, no, my background is totally different. Right? So I'm like, I know we don't teach the same thing. There are some things that may be similar, right? There's going to be some overlap, but we don't do the same thing. And so we have to recognize that. Then the next thing we have to think about is, how will you personally address the client's major problems or the concerns, the things that are keeping them up at night in a state of worry, panic, and fear? Nobody can solve a problem like you can solve a problem because it's based upon your own life experience. For example, a woman was talking to me yesterday, and she has a business where she teaches brand sexification. But her specific target audience are what you would call dance studios, but specifically dance studios that teach pole dancing, belly dancing, all types of like Zumba dances where a woman would step fully into her confidence. And all of these dance studios, their chief aim is to help a woman move through self-confidence. One of the things that she said to me yesterday, which blew my mind because I never thought about it this way, she had a speaking engagement, and she was speaking to a group of MAC makeup artists. And she said to them, when a woman comes to you who's been physically abused, and she says, I need you to put makeup on my face to cover these bruises.
Oh.
How do you react? And she said there was a pin drop in the room. And women in the room said, well, that's never happened to me. And she said, well, I run a not-for-profit for battered and abused women. And so when you have this look on your face of judgment, then you can't help them solve their problem because you're judging them.
Aha.
So you have to ask yourself, how are you personally willing to address somebody's issues or problems? Because those women who've been in that situation and now they've escaped the situation, but they have scars in their face and they want to wear makeup so that can boost their self-esteem, but you're coming from a place of judgment. You're not the right person to help them. And I laughed and I said, hi, 10 girlfriend, because that's what I'm talking about. When you can get really clear. See, a lot of people, they think they want to be a problem solver, but not really, because you bring them a certain problem and they're like, oh, no, honey, not me. So to me, the bigger the problem, the bigger the compensation. If you have small solutions, you can't expect people to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, to teach an adult. For example, you can teach a grown man or woman is not going to pay you $500 for a $50 solution. Not anybody with common sense anyway. And then the final question I think you have to ask is, are you a person who's willing to help a person achieve their goals and their dreams, their hopes and aspirations? There are some people, for example, take an author, a writer. Let me use a writer. This is a great example. Let's just say you're a person and you love to write, and you have a gift of helping a person clearly communicate their value proposition. What a lot of writers do is they say crazy stuff like, oh, I'm just a writer. I'm like, what are you talking about?
It's like just a housewife.
Hello, right? It's like you bring so much value to the table. So when you can help somebody take what's in their heart and take that and help them place it into an ebook or a book, or some type of speaking presentation or a live event or your like I said, a magazine or newsletter, or you can help that person write something that's going to expand minds and open hearts in a positive way. You have just made a positive impact in the world. So it's about knowing the value that you bring to the table and being able to clearly communicate it. And one of my favorite authors, Louise Hay, she wrote this book called You Can Heal Your Life. Well, she wrote a lot of books, but that's my favorite. But one of the things that Louise said, I saw her 20 years ago at an Empowering Women conference. And she said, somewhere someone is looking for exactly what you have to offer. So what I say to women is that there are 7 billion people plus on planet Earth. You don't need everybody. But what you do need is at least 1,000 to know who you are. And that statement that I said, when they think of blank, they think of you. 1,000 people. That's not a lot of people. It sounds, to some people, it's very intimidating. It's not that 1,000 people know you or that you know 1,000 people, right? It's that 1,000 people, when they think of blank, they think of you. Because the minute that happens, you have the capability of providing a level of service through leadership that nobody else can bring to the table. Because you understand how to package your solution. You know how to honor people and the planet. And you recognize that your content might be king, but marketing is queen. The two go together.
Okay. Wow.
Well, yeah. I'm taking notes, too. And we're being recorded, and I know I'm going to be revisiting some of these ideas, Kadena. This is just tremendous.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, my word. So I have one more question, and then I want to make sure that I leave you some time again for some self-promotion, tell folks how they can work with you after the show. But one of the ideas that I really want to explore briefly is consistent recurring revenue, because if we put everything that you're into place, that cash register should start ringing, but so many small businesses are running that feast or famine cycle. So how can we stabilize that for people?
I think the main thing is we have to get clear about what business are deliverables. What I teach is that you should really not launch more than 4 major things in a year. This is just my personal opinion. And the reason why I say that is because there's so much marketing that has to be done before, during, and after. And there's service, there's a lot of things that go into launches. So what I teach is that if you, at the beginning of the year, you write down what are the 4 revenue streams. And let's pretend that you want to earn $100,000. And let's say that your 4 revenue streams are coaching, consulting, speaking, training. We'll make it very basic for right now. If each of those you need $25,000 for each of them, right? Each revenue stream in order for you to generate $100,000, then you got to get really clear and you have to own what you do and you have to charge what you're worth. So you will no longer sit down when someone comes to you and they say, for example, you have a program and it's $500. And someone says to you, well, I can't afford it. I really need you to do it for $100. And because you're in people pleaser energy and you don't have a sustainable business model, you start working with all these people saying yes to things that you really want to, doing stuff that you don't want to do, all because you want to be a nice woman. Then you're not going to meet your goals. But if you know, okay, I want to earn $25,000 from this one thing, I can work with 25 people at $1,000 a piece. Okay.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Right. And then that becomes the drama. Because we're going to get these 25 people to give you $1,000 a piece. There's a lot of marketing there. We got to get clear about what it's going to take and our resources and our desires versus maybe you find 4 people to pay you $62.50. Now, if you have something that's $62.50, now you got to get really clear about what are you willing to do for the money without prostituting yourself.
Right.
I mean, really owning your value. So what I say to people is, if you don't want that up and down cycle, first of all, you have to get clear about how much money do you need. Then you have to look at what is it going to take, and are you willing to do that? And if you're not willing to do that, then change it to something that you're willing to do. What I can tell you very, very clearly is what helped me, Susan, to change my pricing, because I know you're going to get questions later about, oh my God, the price that she just said, who's going to pay me $6,000? Well, this is what I say to people. If you look at what is the result of working with you, in other words, when I work with you, what are the intangible and tangible benefits that are going to happen in my life? So I will use a writer, because you're a writer, and I had this conversation with you when we saw each other in Dallas. When my copywriter, Nikki Groom, wrote my sales copy, and she rewrote my website copy, the first thing that it did in an intangible way is it boosted my own confidence. Mm-hmm. Because I think to some degree, if you don't see yourself as a writer, you have shaky confidence when it comes to your writing. And so the first thing she did was it gave me confidence. There's no value there. On top of that, in a tangible way, it helped me to better communicate what I was trying to say, because since I teach a man's subject, so to speak, she softened the edges, right? She helped to soften those edges. And so that helped me to have an easier relationship with the people who come to my website. And then, of course, because now I'm more approachable, because it's not, strategy, God. But now I'm much more approachable. And then she said to me, Kadena, you might want to consider making videos, because people will read the stuff that you write because you're so serious when you're writing. But when you're talking, she's right. And with that advice, that helped me tremendously. So what did she give to me? She charged me $895 in, quote unquote, the price for the service. But the return on that investment in my life is worth millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah. I think what we have to do as women is we have to look at what's the result. And that's what I mean when I say charge what you're worth. And when you do that, then you no longer allow people to come into your life and make you feel that you are inadequate or that you can't do or have enough. because it's easy. To me, that's an easy thing for women to go into, this whole people pleaser energy. And it's something I think that we all struggle with at one time or another. Even the women who say they don't struggle with it, that's BS, because we all are called to do a whole bunch of stuff just simply because we're women and we can. So I believe in telling people, I believe that there's no fluff. You just have to tell the truth, plain and simple, and give people permission to make the changes that are necessary to their business model. Because I can tell you, one of the things that cracked my face was I used to teach this course. This is so embarrassing. I used to teach this course for $497 on marketing your business. And then I paid for somebody else's course that was $5,000. And I get on a plane and I go to Vegas. So not only do I pay $5,000 for the course, but then the air, the hotel, and meals for 5 days. On day one, when he passes out the workbook, I looked at the workbook and burst into tears because literally it was exactly what I teach.
Oh my God.
Right.
That was like my slap in the face. Okay. I mean, I'm not kidding. Every day for 5 days, I cried every day. And Susan, you know, I am not a teary woman. I was so upset. And what I say to people is sometimes you have to be beat across the face so that you get it. And I got it when 5 days of listening to him say in his way the same exact thing that I teach. I was so enraged when I came home. I took my thing down I took it down, and then I said, okay, what are you going to charge now?
Oh my God.
And then I went to his website and reread everything on his website that made me buy, because obviously he could communicate a hell of a lot more effectively than me. So I read his website, and that's when I said, oh, not no, but hell no, I need a copywriter. Mm-hmm. See, that's when it became this thing of I'm not communicating effectively what I need. And so I hired a copywriter because I did not know how to say it in a way that I felt really resonated with what I really wanted to say. I hope that makes sense. I knew if I'm saying it to someone in person, I could do it, but writing it down, I was editing out my own voice because I was in perfectionist energy. Mm-hmm. So what I can say to you is that your income will absolutely stabilize when you get crystal clear about what you do and you're not all over the place trying to be everything to everybody.
Like you said earlier, Kadena, stop being a Jill of all trades.
Yes.
Focus. Okay, we have just a few minutes left in the show, so quickly tell folks how they can work with you.
Well, I'm going to say this. I have a free gift, and they can go to my website, to kadenatate.com/freebie. And what they're going to find when they get there is 4 or 5 things that I've prepared for them. The first thing is the Authentic Prosperity Manifesto. I believe that mindset mastery is key. And I believe that whenever you use the words I am, it needs to be followed by something positive because you're creating. And the second gift is called Awesomeness Maximized. It's all about time management mastery. If you have perfectionist energy like I do, when you hear that Pareto principle that says focus on the 20% to create the 80, we don't know what that means. So I clarified that because everything becomes important, right, to a perfectionist. And then the third gift is called Escape the Sea of Sameness. It really clarifies what I mean about how to use the principle of authenticity has no competition. Stop copying other people and comparing other people and stand in your own uniqueness. The fourth gift is a 1-page marketing plan, because I really think without a strategy, you're doomed for failure because you don't even know what's coming at you. And I really believe in my heart that one of the, love it or hate it, people didn't like Walmart, Apple, Microsoft, but the reason why those companies are as big as they are now is because people who were providing a similar service never saw them coming, and they didn't have their ear to the part of the customer, so they would know what was going on, which is the other reason why I created the fifth gift, which is called Client Intimacy Connection, which is all about how to establish a customer love connection. I believe that one of the things that's taught on the internet that's inaccurate is we tell people everything that you do, you have to pitch your business. Pitch your business, pitch your business, pitch what you do. And if you don't do that, people don't buy. I think that's BS. When you meet people in real life, if somebody, when you met them face to face, heart to heart, if all they talked about was how you need to buy my stuff, you wouldn't have any friends at all if you did that. So I believe,
How about that?
you know, it's to me, it's disrespectful. And
Okay.
I think that it's not people. And so you have to really sit down and ask yourself, are you willing to grow yourself? I believe that your income grows in direct proportion to your personal growth and development.
Okay,
And
okay,
so-
Kadena, and I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but we are actually at the very, very tippy end of our show, and we have to get off the air.
No problem.
Sorry. And so, but I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you will come back again and share some more
I will.
wisdom, Molly. This has been a fascinating show, and I have so many more questions for you. But anyway, folks, you have been listening to Susan Ridge Talks Live with our birthday girl, Anne-Marie Schutz, and today's guest is the awesome Kadena Tate. Be sure to check out her website, kadenatate.com, KADENATATE.com, and check out those special offers that she's been talking about. I hope you will join us right here again tomorrow, noon Eastern Time, for more of our show, Susan Ridge Talks. And thank you. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.